Taylor is a part of the Oregon Remembrance Project.
And we're here with Renee Browse.
And we are with Eddie Carrillo.
Ben Bowman is the House Majority Leader for the state of Oregon.
So we are here with Michael Austin. Michael Austin is with Just Compassion. This morning with our special guest, Aaron Earlywine. We are talking this morning about immigration.
You know, I think to do this work, you have to have what I call unrelenting hope. And for me, part of that unrelenting hope is this belief that no matter where you go, you can find enough people who are willing to choose justice if given the opportunity.
And this is we end up dehumanizing people.
There is no greater determination of the value of life than the lives we are willing to take.
She said, I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be looked down upon because of who you are. And so I am here to protect you and to help give you support to know that you are not hated by everyone.
I appreciate each of you showing up to these Sanctuary Sundays for 1 year. We've been doing this for 1 year. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to recap and just kind of review the year. Those of you who have gone to a couple of these, you'll recognize names. Those of you who have been, just long-termers and have gone every Sanctuary Sunday, you'll remember each one. And if this is some of your first times here, this recap will help you just kind of peruse and think through what we've done and where we're going and why we're doing it. So today we're just going to look back over the year and then look to the vision of the future, because I think that this Sanctuary Sunday interview process and just learning about organizations, learning about involvement, how to be involved in our communities, but how to make an impact in the world is valuable, because a lot of times we sit in groups and communities and we hear about concepts, and the question is, how do I get involved in that? I have no idea. How do I even participate in houselessness communities, or how do I participate in anti-human trafficking boards and organizations? So that's what this is about, is to help us be involved, to learn to love better and more effectively and with intention. And sometimes not with intention, right? I mean, we can love without intention and with intention. So the year of interviews, I've definitely have learned a lot. And it's not just about learning for me. A lot of this has really affected me. It's in a positive way. There's been conversations that we've had that I had no idea that conversation even existed. And then all of a sudden I'm faced with that conversation. If you can imagine not knowing a conversation existed, being faced with that conversation, for me personally, I'm interviewing in that and trying to navigate through my own emotions with the conversation. That's been very...
Can you give an example of what that might be?
With Taylor Stewart and race reconciliation, I had no idea that Oregon had sundowner laws still. I had no idea that there was a lynching in Coos Bay. So learning to navigate through that and hearing the kind of the shock of that, or with Eddie Carrillo and the mental illness crisis here in Sherwood, not there, but here in our front yard. So that's been a really impactful and I would say transformative experience for me. It's been really good for me, just as a human, and learning to be maybe just a little more whole human, I guess, and learning to love my neighbor just a little bit more personally. Honestly, over a year ago, we sat all in Jacob and Bethany's backyard on the grass. And I announced, just in a fluke moment, because somebody asked me the question, I said, this is what we're going to do. And I knew that it was the direction of the right thing to do. I just didn't know what that would entail and what it would unfold to be. So I'm really happy and proud of all of you for being here, sticking with it, learning alongside of everybody else, being able to navigate through these conversations. Some of them have been easier than others. All of them have been difficult. I think that all of these conversations are a difficult immersion that maybe you didn't expect to be in. And so I'm really proud that you entered into this time with me and with us together. So this is the direction that we went. So I'm just going to recap and just give you the list of all the things that we have participated in over the last year. If you remember the immigration conversation with Aaron Earlywine and how that started us out with a very deep conversation about the Haitian immigrants in his town and the Care Collective and the work that they do with Haitian immigrants. That was a very impactful conversation. We then moved to refugee care with Refugee Care Collective and saw the impact of current state of affairs and how that changed their entire organization and almost derailed it in a sense. Changed their whole focus and changed their whole structure and what they were trying to do. Race reconciliation with Taylor Stewart and the Oregon Remembrance Project. Houselessness, we spent 2 months on houselessness with Just Compassion and with Home PDX. And our work with Home PDX on a monthly basis, Bruce, if you remember Bruce being here, Pastor Bruce, talking to us about houselessness. Human trafficking with Village for One, our local organization that handles anti-human trafficking, especially for young teens and young people. Mental health with Eddie Carrillo from just our very Sherwood School District. Here he works at the high school and gave us the lay of the land when it comes to mental health here in our local area. LGBTQ plus rights with Ben Bauman. He's the Oregon State House Majority Leader, and he was here with us. And then disaster relief with Renee Browse and Shelter Box, and learning how people are responding to cross-cultural but also cross-socio-political lines where they are in Gaza and the Ukraine and in Russia and all these places that they're in, giving aid through this concept of Shelter Box. So first, let's recap houselessness. Jake is going to take houselessness first, and we're just going to recap and summarize, but also give some nuggets to hold on to each time we talk, because it's just us today. So there's no like ringer here today that we can say, here's the special guest. We're your special guest. So he's going to go over this, and then each section will go to table talks, and we only have 3 questions to answer in each table talk. So it's a shorter little section for table talk. So go ahead and recap.
Just so you all know, online on our app and our website, most of these talks are on there. We are missing a few right now because of some tech issues. That was my fault. So there's 3 that are not there, but the rest are there. Taylor Stewart's will be uploaded tonight, but most are on our website underneath the Sanctuary Sunday tab of our media resource page. That was a lot, but it's on our app. So first, we're going to go through major topics, and the first is houselessness. And in every talk that we had, we try to define terms and words. Words are important. And so when we say houseless, that's different than homeless, different than transient, vagabond, beggar. So you have like different words to describe people, but what do they want to be called? what's the best term of use. And right now, houselessness is the best that we have, because homeless doesn't define them because they have a home. It could be mobile, it could be on their back, it could be set up in a bush somewhere, or tent village somewhere. But home is community, home is family, people, and most houseless people do have a community support network around them. They don't want to be seen, and so they have safe spaces that they can be in. Being outside is, do you have something to say?
So if you look at every major city, and then how many urban centers are being criticized right now with the amount of houseless, and that's the media, I guess that's the media propaganda, where look at this city and their uncontrolled houseless problem. That's just like a misinformation or a lack of understanding of houselessness and why houseless people are in urban centers. Why would they be downtown Portland or Seattle or, criticized, New York and different places, Los Angeles, where all of these people are? You'll see tents under bridges. You'll see lines sometimes of RVs on certain sections of Portland, especially before time, place, and manner became a thing here in Oregon. You saw it, just people bundled basically in doorways and on sidewalks, just trying maybe to find some warmth or shelter. Any given night, there's 650,000 people without homes. That includes all of the couch surfer youth, that includes couch surfing adults, that includes just kind of a survey of who is experiencing houseless. So houselessness is not the person necessarily on the street. There's many categories and layers to houselessness that are considered in the statistics that you read. But we do know, because of our veterans aid crisis, where veterans are many times not able to get assistance, ending up out on the street. Our mental health crisis that we have, I would call it a crisis, that is steadily climbing, and so we see a steady incline of houselessness. Urban centers take the brunt in a, that's kind of negative, but we absorb the cost, but also the care many times of houselessness, because we have the resources, we have transportation. If you live out on 84 in the Gorge, you're not going to have necessarily all of the services that you do in downtown Portland or Vancouver or somewhere like that. And so there's some also measure of safety in numbers. Even though some people live away from others, there's safety in numbers as well. So that's why you'll see communities of houseless. But one thing that I learned from both Just Compassion and from Bruce with Home PDX, when we interviewed both of them, we had all the statistics, all of the demographics, charts and graphs, and all of these numbers that we looked at, and the increases, and who's in those increases, and the demographic of the most, of the most. And what I learned from both of them is behind every number, statistic, chart, and graph, there's a person. We're talking about people. We're not talking about just some nebulous number. And so if we could listen to that fact from them, that they're people, they have a story, they have a series of life events just like any of us. And I think about, I'm probably only a couple of paychecks away from being houseless myself if I make certain decisions that collapse everything that I have happening. And so that's what I really learned, is like we can criticize and look at statistics and see and show graphs in front of each other, and we have a problem. But every time we do that, we're actually calling people a problem. And people are not a problem. They're people. And we need to, that's what I learned from Bruce and from Just Compassion.
So we talk about causes. Causes are difficult because every person has a different reason, a different cause, and a different solution to pull them out of being unhoused. And so both, what's his name? Bruce and Michael talked about how a majority of families in the United States are one paycheck away from experiencing houselessness. And if they don't have a support network around them, a family of people that can take them in, if that crisis does happen, then many people will end up on the streets as well. In our economic centers like Portland, Seattle, Tacoma, and all down the I-5 corridor, rent outpaces wages. So as wages go up, rent goes even higher. And I think the median apartment right now in Sherwood is over $2,500 a month to rent a 2-bedroom apartment. And so a minimum wage job won't pay for that, won't even come close. And so we have rising rent outpaces wages. It's always cheaper to keep people housed in apartments than it is to try to put them back in. And so our solutions usually are on the tail end of things where there's a crisis that's already happened. And so if we can get in front of that cause, it's to attack rising house. And Michael Austin talked a lot about affordable housing and what we can do to expand that in our centers. Healthcare costs. A large percentage of people are on the street because of a medical emergency that they couldn't pay for. They didn't have insurance, and now they are strapped. And then that means they come off of their medications, whatever they were on, which puts them more into a spiral of mental instability, mental health crises, or addiction. Those things, addiction and mental health, are usually what's portrayed as the main cause of houselessness. Both Michael and Bruce tried to step back from that and say it's a lack of support, a lack of community, a lack of a network that they had. So,
But he also said that that could also be a consequence or a result of being out on the street, because it only takes about 2 or 3 nights of no sleep to begin to start to have some mental wavering. And so we go without sleep, and these are our only options in front of us.
I think the number is actually 6 hours. So if you continually get less than 6 hours of sleep a night for multiple days in a row, you are pushing yourself into a mental health crisis. And so if you can imagine sleeping on the streets, you're probably not getting over 6 hours of good sleep a night. And so it starts with rest, with peace. If you're a woman on the street as well, I wish I had figures in front of me, but a majority of women on the street will be raped or sexually accosted within the first week. And so it's a very unsafe place to be, especially for women or trans or people of color outside, especially in our area. And so there's tons of triggers that keep pushing people further and further into poverty. Generational poverty, broken systems of foster care. So what happens to a foster child after they leave the system? Usually that's a lack of support. And so not having a support network is a systemic issue of houselessness. It's not an individual failure. We often see people living in the streets and think it's their problem. They're the ones that put themselves there. They should pull themselves up from their bootstraps. But not everyone was born with boots or straps. And so it's the systemic failure of our society and the economic system that we're in to put people into those places of beneathness.
So there are some lived realities that we in this room, most of us are not living when it comes to houseless living. So we're not waking up under bridges or on the street. We have at least some semblance of bed. It might not be the best bed, but we have a bed or we have a house of some kind, right? We have shelter of some kind. So if you could imagine an insecure situation, what that would do to you, and try to imagine or just picture yourself in that situation and how you would respond or react in that situation. So our belongings, sometimes I wish that my belongings would just be in a backpack, because I just, have a garage full of stuff and I need to do the Swiss death clean like everybody else. But my belongings don't just fit into a backpack or a shopping cart. And so if you can imagine, just that's all you have. And so what does that put us in? It puts us in a scarcity mode, a survival mode, where we begin to just change basically our mode of thinking, and just how our decision-making paradigm begins to shift in those cases. If you could imagine every day being survival of food and water and shelter and such, just finding warmth or cool, having to go to forced to go to a cooling shelter just to survive the 101 degree
Which
heat.
we might, here in our sweat hut, have to go
Right.
to
Yeah.
a cooling shelter.
So theft and assault and all the things that Jake talked about, there is a lived reality that I think that a lot of times when we just talk about the subject, it's over there and it's not an experienced, immersed reality for us. So it's easy, I guess, to talk about or point the finger and put fault at an individual, but really houselessness is not an individual, like, necessarily problem. An individual might have made some mistakes, but that whole idea of houselessness is not just an individual's fault. And this is where the stigma comes into play, where the stigma, whether it be like avoiding eye contact with somebody, and that's just a lack of love. When we don't have eye contact with somebody, we avoid who they are and we walk past them and not even say hi. So we say hello, we might even shake a hand or wave to somebody that seemingly looks normal to us, but then the abnormal or the other walks by and we kind of shield our eyes and walk with our head down, maybe. Politicians basically debate sweeps. If you can imagine, you're just trying to figure out the best course of the day, and strangers come along and sweep your camp, whether it be business owners or whether it be security or whoever it is comes by. So houselessness is thought of as a problem. And I would say, instead of saying it's a problem, could we change our perspective and say there's problems and there's solutions, but rather than a problem, it's people. And to focus on the fact that the dehumanization deepens isolation, and so we need to humanize. Dehumanization deepens hopelessness, and through humanization, we can actually give somebody a little bit of hope in their situation.
So what can we do? What's our role as citizens in our neighborhoods, in our societies, that can alleviate or take the pressure of homelessness off of people? A lot of it is a perspective shift and being able to communicate humanity into people that we often try to dehumanize, especially what Kevin was just talking about. Support the systems that are already in place. And so one thing that we've always tried to do is come along programs and organizations that already have their wheels running, and not to try to reinvent another wheel and another organization that competes with funds. Funding is super hard, especially in these types of organizations. And so the more there are, awesome, but we have to figure out how to support and fund each one. Some ones that we definitely get involved with in the area are Just Compassion, Home PDX. We've been involved with Good Neighbor Center in the past, New Narrative or Luke Dorf, LifeWorks. And so a lot of those are in our Tigard area. Some do stretch into Sherwood. However, our our town, our municipality has a very aggressive stance towards those that are unhoused, is how I'll say that. And so pushing people onto TriMed and pushing them up to Tigard, where there are more services, but it's different. So how do we deal with people that need help? At our Tiger shop specifically, we have a lot of people moving through, and some are in mental health crises, and we have a place to say, go here to this shelter, they can help you. And so getting involved in those types of programs, food pantries, and our every fourth Sunday in the back here with Colleen, Rob, Melanie, Rob, John, sorry, we cook meals for Home PDX, which is one of our main organizations that we support. So as a community, we can come alongside of those things. One size does not fit all, and so oftentimes people say, like, we'll make a little survival bag. But what happens is usually people pick out what they want and leave the rest. And so one size does not fit all. So asking them what people need, having to have that conversation of need, is better than just telling them what they do need.
Just Compassion, Family Promise, Home PDX, New Narrative for Mental Health. Give me another.
Luke Dorff. Oh, so
That's New Narrative.
LifeWorks.
LifeWorks.
Good Neighbor
Good
Center.
Neighbor Center. Those are some of the organizations that
Love Inc.
Love Inc. will accept volunteers and help in food pantry items and such. And if you want more information about that, we can get it to you. Through our community here, for close to 15 years, we have cooked meals. And how our meals work in this community is there's a list every month of food. And that food is broken down into, no pun intended, but pun intended, bite-sized pieces, right? Where the food is broken down into, you can bring a bag of salad, you don't have to bring 10 pounds of salad, right? So you can bring a pound of pork, but not 50 pounds of pork, right? So it's affordable, and there's more expensive items and less expensive items on that list. So everyone can participate in that work, in that way, if you choose to. Some things are a couple bucks, some things are $10, some things are more. So then yeah, go ahead, interrupt me. Four minutes, so you can give a citizen request or comment, thank you. And for 4 minutes, you can show up and advocate for something or talk to council for something, and the houseless ideas that you have could be shared there.
Yeah, and we do have a liaison that works with Sherwood, Tigard, and Walton on that, but that individual tends to spend more time in those other communities because the express need in our community isn't as loud as it is in
Yeah.
other communities.
Renee, under growth, he used to keep track of how many couch surfing teens that we had in Sherwood School District. And I think it was like up to 300 at some point. Do you have a figure like that at all? Of
The number that I most recently heard was 150, but they say that's an understated number because they have a place that they are sleeping
Yeah.
on a
Right,
regular basis.
right.
And so they started to change how they count.
Got it. And so what was just said is that there are over, I would say, probably 150 teens in our high schools and probably middle school that do not have a place to call home. They just couch surf. So whoever can take them in for a certain period of time, they sleep there and then move on. So we do have, I take my comment kind of back, that we push it out. Yes, And we do have a very unrecognizable population here that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
So for 15 years, we have been actively producing once a month meals for a houseless community through Home PDX. Home PDX is a Christian ministry that Bruce leads, and he also has a team of people around him that help him do this work. And so Bruce and John have worked together for many years in different capacities, and then John brought this idea to us literally 15 years ago. Over the 15 years, I'm going to understate this, over the 15 years, our community has helped produce and provide close to 30,000 meals. So when you put all that together, that's a lot of food, that's a lot of everyone included. But literally, if you, on a low, I got the lowest attended Home PDX community number that we could think of, how many meals we produce, and multiplied that by how many months in a year times 15 years, and you get 30,000 meals. So we have produced close to, on the plus though, 30,000 plus meals for Home PDX. So that's something to just sit back and just think about, that act of love. I don't know the last time you produced 30,000 meals, but it's been a long time since I've had to feed that many people all at once. So over this time, that's how many meals that this community has produced, an act of love that's been a part of the fabric of our faith and our community and our action as a congregation, and is really foundational to our existence. And so over this last year, since we've changed our venue, since we've been able to change how we do things as a group, just the different rhythm that we do, and our giving dollars that people give towards this work actually has remained and increased and fluctuated up. And so because of the way that we're structured, of course, I don't take a salary from our community. Jake does not take a salary from our community. So all the dollars that we collect go towards the work that we're trying to do, whether it be basic bills and insurances that we pay, the rents on these places. The brunches are paid for out of those dollars. So when you eat all the food here on a Sunday brunch, that comes out of those dollars. Any work that we do for the kids upstairs, that rent is paid out of those dollars. But through the increase, but also the excess, we have been able to put together a giving plan this week that we're able to write checks to certain organizations. And so we've chosen Home PDX. We've actually not given that much over the 15 years cash. We've never really had a plan to give them financial support. It's always been through this food program that we've participated in. And so the money that we give Home PDX directly benefits the houseless community of that group. And even Bruce is bivocational, probably trivocational at this point, where he does other jobs to support himself. So a lot of the money is going directly towards just their work, their food, their services. They provide a lot more services than just the food program. So we're able to write a check for $2,000 to Home PDX and just give them that just love offering, and that's exciting to do, that we are able to do that just in this last year of this work, to be able to just to be generous and to give towards Home PDX. We're doing that this week. Yeah, we're writing checks starting on Monday and getting them to the organization through their portals and stuff that they receive funds, because each one of them has an oversight body that handles their financial work. So we took a large portion. Oh, let's break for the 3 questions. All right. So now that we have that announcement, $2,000 goes to Home PDX. If you want to put the website up for Home PDX, Home PDX is the group that we support downtown. Somebody came to me and said it would be really helpful if we saw a visual of who we're actually supporting. So this is Home PDX. They work through the Portland metro area. It's not just one concentrated area, so they actually work all over. And so this is their website, and then also Just Compassion, Austin.
Michael Austin.
Michael Austin came and spoke to us. Just Compassion is in Tigard, kind of downtown area. They have a new shelter. They, over the last year, have received quite a few dollars from the state of Oregon and through ARPA dollars that they were able to build a whole new facility. So it's an 80-person facility. It's a beautiful, very well done facility for the houseless community. So they've been able to receive a lot of dollars over the last couple of years. Something that I don't like to mince Symposium and our faith community together too much, but Symposium's also coming alongside of this and giving another $500 for each organization. So it's actually total giving is going to be $2,500 to Home PDX. We took a larger portion of the year and talk through human rights issues, starting with Taylor Stewart and the Oregon Remembrance Project and looking at the lynching of Coos Bay and also the sundowner laws in different communities that we have, like Grants Pass, our favorite, right? Grants Pass still has sundowner laws there. And so he's doing work to write those off the books, but now his major work is to end capital punishment because it is disproportionately skewed towards people of color and especially black males when it comes to capital punishment. So he is doing work to end capital punishment in the United States. That is his major work.
I listened to it last night. So it's 12% of all incarcerated people are African American, black. 41% of everybody on death row is African American, black.
Right, that's a huge proportion of people. So it's skewed the numbers definitely. So there's a systemic problem, a challenge there that needs to be addressed. So he's addressing that. Earlier, we were able to already give $500 towards the Oregon Remembrance Project. So we have given that already to the Oregon Remembrance for their work to end capital punishment. Another topic ended up in our front and backyard where we were very impacted by human trafficking and the amount of human trafficking that happens in the Portland metro area because we live basically near the water and on the I-5 corridor. And so it's the reality of human trafficking, especially for younger people, is huge. It is a reality, and there's incredible work being done by the organization called Village for One. Village for One is a Portland Metro based, and they presented to us through their executive director. I interviewed their executive director here, if you remember that talk. When we think of human trafficking, of course, our minds jump to distant countries and places, like Southeast Asia, and that's where that happens. Human trafficking happens over there or on fishing boats out in the sea somewhere. That's where human trafficking happens. But the reality is that human trafficking is not just an international crime ring or a sensational story. It's happening here. It's happening in Portland. It's happening on the I-5 corridor. It's not just out there. It's in our neighborhoods. It's in our schools. It's like in our school district, Sherwood School District. And our cities, and it's affecting our kids, and many of them are shockingly young. Like, it's shockingly young. It's just an unbelievable...
Remember the most targeted age? I think it was...
I don't...
7?
It's like
8.
9. It's like unbelievably young. It's like horrific. And I think about my 8-year-old, and I just of course my mind goes there. Of course, many of our minds go there. So it's not just this thing that's happening out there. It's actually here. And one thing that I did appreciate that Village for One said is there's no such thing as a child prostitute. There's no such thing. It's always a trafficked child. There's no such thing as a profession that the child is doing. It's a trafficked child. So, okay.
So human trafficking right now is in the news a lot, especially with certain files back east. And so we have a view of what that looks like. Something that Renee brought up on the break is that houselessness drives especially women into prostitution and human trafficking. Today there are more slaves in the world than there ever has been. So even during our period of slavery, we have more slaves in the world than right now than any time in history. It's not just sex; it's also labor. It's force. It's coercion. Minors. It's a commercial. So it's in the case of minors, the law is even more clear. Any commercial sexual or labor act involving a child is trafficking. In Oregon alone, hundreds of youth are trafficked every year, especially going up and down our I-5 corridor. One of the main outlets used to be 82nd area, And that's why Village for One's kind of headquarters is out in Oregon City-ish, correct? That's where their main headquarters is at. They do pretty amazing work to pull people out of that, and it's never a safe thing because these women are coerced. They are slaves basically to this person, usually male, boyfriend or friend, that is trying to make money off of their relationship. It's not just in dark alleys. It's out in the open, it's public, and it begins with this idea of grooming. And so small questions, small things over and over and over again that builds manipulation and coercion in that relationship, and usually ends with violence, threats, isolation, and sometimes even death of that person. And so when we're talking about houselessness, race, refugees, immigrants, all of those issues are all tied together as the exploitation of people and going into a dominant person making money off of that subdominant person. That is the act of trafficking. All these topics flood into this area.
So this is where Village for One came in, and basically their mission basically is simple: to walk alongside people who are surviving the commercial sexual exploitation industry and of children, and to create a safe place, to create a place that they can heal, and they can find services and helps that would give them a new chance and a new opportunity in life, to empower them to live the rest of their lives, even though they have to live alongside this history in their lives. One of the most powerful initiatives that they have is the Anissa's Place, which this is Oregon's first specialized therapeutic home. And it's a specialized therapeutic home where it's not just a shelter, it's a place that they go where girls can live, where they receive counseling, education, nursing care. They receive basically a holistic support. It's not just here's some food, here's a bed type of thing. They're really receiving a lot of support. So it's a place to attempt, as I've talked to their counselors, and we participate with Village for One in several different ways. And in my interactions with them, they really are trying to change the narrative in this person's life that they're just stuck here, that they don't have to be in this. It's not a requirement. It's not the Stockholm Syndrome. You can overcome certain things and start to move through life in a different function. So one of the things that they do offer is mentoring and therapy and counseling and education and training in new fields to get them mentally healthy, to do new fields, to do new work. And honestly, I could say that it's a village. It's a Village for One, right? That's their name, but their slogan is really lived out because it does take that village for protection. It's like the community in protection. It's not just one-on-one counseling. It's actually where healing could take place in a village, helping them to realize that they're not alone, and they are with a community of similar likes where they can thrive again. So what we've done is, because this organization has been a part of our community for quite some time now, early on, Deborah Eckel joined their board. If you know who Deborah Eckel is, she's been a part of our community for a number of years. She joined their board. We participate in their fundraising gala once a year. We participate at symposium in their giving tree during the Christmas season, where you can pick off and buy gifts for these young people, which is it's always gone. Everything's just that tree is stripped instantly. And so it's an awesome opportunity just to give a little gift during the Christmas time. Amanda has also joined their board, and so we have 2 people from our community joining their board, or have joined their board. And so that's great that we're involved more than just a check writing or something like that. We've given several $1,000s over the last couple of years to the organization, but we've decided that through our giving this year and our new rhythm and the way that our giving has fluctuated and that we have this excess, that we're able to give $2,000 for that extra work. So that check's being written this week along with another 500. So we're able to give total through all that we're doing $2,500 to a Village for One. And so we're really happy about that and pleased that we're able to support in a little more significant way, just to give some more resources, financial resources from them. So we live in this kind of world. And I think that some things that I've been reading this week, yeah, I'm just concluding right now. Yeah. Some of the reading that I've been doing this week is, I really do believe that the hands and the feet of God are shown in our work in the margins. And when we work in the margins, this is on the fields out in where the weeds are, right? You know, on a farm, you have all the good oats and the corn in the middle. And then when you're driving along, hey, go pick some corn out of the weeds, and you send your kids over to the apple trees to kind of pick along the edge and the rotten fruit that's fallen on the street, right? Those are the margins of the farm. And that's where the slaves used to be, for the gleaners, where they used to be, where they would feed themselves in the margins. And I do believe that the love of God is shown in our acts in the margins. And so with Home PDX and with the Village for One, these are really deep, hard conversations that are in the margins. And our work here is just to show a true love of spirit in those margins. And so I'm really proud of this group to be able to represent this group in those ways and to be able to give towards these kinds of things. So let's take a couple of minutes to talk about these three questions with human trafficking. topic, which is disaster relief. Disaster relief was something that we covered last month, and it's a very important topic because we live in a world where natural disasters occur, and these affect people. It affects especially disproportionately those that are in the margins. And so when you think about people that are houseless, or think about people that are on the street or poor in any sense of the word, that when a natural disaster happens, it happens mostly to them. So when somebody's displaced, that is a true displacement, also emotional displacement. I think human suffering is definitely exponentially increased through disasters, whether man-made or natural, either one. So if you think about Gaza and what's happening in Gaza and how the suffering is an immense amount of suffering there. If you think about just a natural disaster when an earthquake hits, like in Turkey, and the immense amount of suffering that happened a couple of years ago in Turkey. And so earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, war, displacement, conflict, whatever it is, the Syrian refugees that crossed over and tried to escape into Greece and into Turkey and different places, they live in really heavy tents out in the deserts of eastern Turkey and southern Greece, where they're just living in basically canvas style homes out in the middle of very little resources. So Shelter Box is an organization that Renee Brous leads. Renee and Rob have been a part of our congregation, our community, for a very long time. And so I know that the work that they do is immensely altruistic. It's awesome. It's always giving. They're always give. And so it's really an awesome it's awesome to know them and to be inspired by them. Shelter Box, the organization that she runs, helps in these situations. They actually buy a box, fill it with a tent, fill it with water filtration systems, fill it with pans and spoons and plates and all the things that you kind of take for granted. Hey, I need a fork, and we go grab a fork out of the drawer. They put a fork in the box. And so there's all of these supplies that are given through a box, which is then given definitely across, again, what I said, socio-political lines. So it's not like we're going to support these people over these people. That's not what it's about. If you're suffering, Shelter Box comes in because it's about human suffering. It's not about this national or international conversation that's going on. So each Shelter Box is this sturdy container of emergency shelter supplies. And
Is there a box?
they're changing it.
It's moving towards a shelter bag, so
Right.
it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
So you can respond to what they need the most.
So she had this table display of a
Can you just say what?
yes. All right, so the contents are customized for the crisis, but also for the people, and they come in so that families can eat and drink safely. They can see with solar lights. It's very practical. This is a very practical, but we all take these things for granted. When we, lose our power, we grab a flashlight. If we lose, our home and our shelter, we don't have a flashlight. So they get cooking sets and all kinds of blankets and mats to stay warm and eat together. And it also brings a sense of dignity. It helps them survive on their own, as in a community, yes, but it brings dignity to them that they can cook their own food. Even if it comes in a can, they can take the can and cook their own food. So they're still helping them live a sense of autonomy in the midst of crisis. Yeah.
Renee told us that Shelter Box has responded in more than 100 countries in 25 years. Their teams deploy to disaster zones often within days. After the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, Shelter Box's tents became temporary homes for thousands. In the Philippines, after Typhoon Haiyan, I believe that's how you say it, Boxes provided life shelter, saving shelter for communities flattened by the 195 mile an hour winds. In Syria, where civil war was displaced millions, Shelter Box has quietly been working with their partners there to provide tents and supplies. She talked about Gaza and the Rotarians on the scene there to supply shelter to those people as they can. It's tricky and hard, but they go into those areas as an apolitical force to try to alleviate suffering. Ukraine and other places that are man-made disasters of pain. Disasters remind us with how fragile our life can be. And so as we talked about human trafficking and houselessness and race, all of those conversations are intertwined into the idea of how we view humanity. And so all of this is to alleviate that pain and that suffering that humanity does experience in this world.
I think about if I was displaced like this, if all of a sudden, a bomb was set off in Sherwood and I didn't have a home anymore, I would probably call a few of you and say, hey, can my family sleep on your couches? But if those couches were gone, right, then I'd go to, okay, can I call somebody in Tigard and say, can I sleep on your couches? And if those couches were gone, eventually you run out of resources and couches to live on. So I think that Shelter Box definitely, as life is fragile this way, Shelter Box does do a very tangible act of love towards people in this way. Thousands and thousands of people have been helped through Shelter Box. I texted Renee the other day and I said, how much does one box, however, a bag, box, however that comes, right? How much is one box? And she said it's $1,000. And so what we're going to do, because of the way that our giving has been over the last year and the ebb and flow of things, and we have an excess, we're going to buy a box. Okay, so we're going to do one box of $1,000, and then Symposium's going to give a half a box. So we're going to do 1.5 boxes. So we're going to give $1,500 to Shelter Box, but really working towards just that one complete family where they can receive help in a very tangible way. I think that that's very approachable for many people, and it's approachable for us as a community of people that just desire to love others and to love our neighbors. And these are our neighbors. Every person that we talked about is our neighbor. They're the people that live next door to us or across the street from us or the next town from us. They are our neighbors. And so really focusing on loving our neighbor is crucial. It's essential. I think it breathes life into us. I think love heals ourselves, and it also heals the world. And as I was just talking to a friend of mine this week, he reminded me that love wins. No matter what, love wins. And so when we give, when we provide, when we help, when we live in those margins with them, alongside of them, that love truly wins. And so we're able to give the $2,000 plus the $500 to Home PDX, $2,000 plus the $500 to Village for One, and then the $1,000 plus the $500 to Shelter Box for a complete box, plus the $500 going towards any, I think just any costs over and above that one box that they might have. And so that's $7,000, and then $500 to the Organ Remembrance Project that we were able to give. So that's $7,000 that we're able to give as a group. I want to challenge us with something this next year, because I think it's good to have challenges and goals in front of us, as this has been a very transformative process for me personally, and just entering into these conversations about how to love our neighbor in tangible ways. Over the next year, our subjects are going to be revolving, or we've already outlined the year. And so over the year, this is what we're going to do starting with September, so fiscal year, right? fiscal year, month to month, September to August. Trauma and resilience is going to be talked through. What we're going to do with our live podcast is we're going to do the topic during our live podcast and the interview during the Sanctuary Sunday. So we're giving a double dip, trying to just expand the conversation, but to prep for the conversation in the Sanctuary Sunday. Women's equality. I don't have organizations picked. I have the organization for September, but in October forward, I don't have the organizations picked yet. So we're attempting to pick 5 different organizations. Those 5 organizations will come in for an interview. We'll be able to do a podcast with the 3 of us in front of everybody. We're going to talk about politics. We already have an email out. Hopefully, Courtney Neron, Senator for the state, will come and speak to us about a political subject. Houselessness again, race reconciliation again, earth care, mental health, trans community care. Focusing on trans community care, I think, is an important subject, and also, again, disaster relief with Shelter Box and another organization to come alongside, hopefully with a panel of people in some of these repetitive topics. So in this interview model, we're doing 2 things. The 2 things are, first and foremost, again, the live podcast is going to be synchronous with the Sanctuary Sunday. But choosing those 5 organizations, what I want to do is I want to double down on something. And the double down is kind of a double down. I want to increase our giving to these organizations to at least $10,000 next year. If we can give 7 just on an experiment, right? Let's put this together and see what we can do, right? If we can give 7, I think that we can give a minimum of $10,000 to these organizations, coupled with a little bit of symposium giving, a lot of community giving, but also 5 organizations. My hope is to double what we're doing to 14,000, but I'll give the goal of 10,000 to do the $3,000 bump this next year, and then hopefully we'll be able to give more at the end in August. The end of August, we'll be able to do this again and see how much we're able to give. So with that, we're going to just spend a little more time, just a minute. Any concluding questions or thoughts around your table, just take a minute and then I'll close this down. What? Yes, I will. she verify CRM, Beth and Keelan? Did she verify that this morning? Okay, all right. Okay, let's just close it down simply. September 17th is Village for One's birthday gala. If you wanted to go to that gala and find out more about that, there is a cost to it. Talk to Amanda or Deborah, who is gone this week out of town. But when Deborah comes back, you can talk to Deborah or talk to Amanda about the September 17th Village for One birthday gathering that they have. Also, our next podcast, which we're talking about trauma and resilience, is the beginning of the month on September 7th. September 7th, Sunday. Yeah, thank you. September 7th is our live podcast for community resilience. And then we have a special group coming in. They haven't given us a final yes, but it's a final yes according to me. September 28th is community resilience and trauma. Our very own Bethany Stoller, but she works with a colleague through George Fox University by the name of Keelan. Keelan is coming to talk about community resilience and trauma in the individual and communities and family. So if you wanted to join us for that, it's a very interesting topic, and I'm excited to have them for an interview on stage and also a podcast September 7th. So that's our lineup besides the community brunches and such. And go ahead and look at our calendar on our app or our website. You can find out more. Even though a lot of people were gone this week, I'm really thankful for you who came and were able to participate in kind of some celebration of where we've been over the last year. And if you want to listen to some of these, they're all pretty much loaded online. Taylor Stewart's file is humongous, so we're trying to pare that down to try to get it up online. I mean, it's like a 9 gigabyte, 1,000 bagillion gigabytes of
14
file. So we need to figure out how to upload that. It's taken us 6 months or a year to figure that out. But anyway, you can look at that. Thanks everybody for being here. Yeah, Bill. December 28th is... Yes, but Bill, you've been replaced.
You can be an elf.
Bill, we're giving you the year off. Yes. We have another person. Patty, you're getting the year off. We do have brunch with Santa in the beginning of December during our brunch. And
we've hired a pro.
We've hired a pro, Bill, to give you the day off. You were definitely pro.
The pro is coming from Bill, and we probably need to stop talking about it right now because there's other littler ears around us.
Yes. So
Sorry,
yes,
everybody. Sorry.
Yes, there's little ears around us that don't need to hear about Santa's.
Okay.
It's too early to talk about
August.
Santa. Yes. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Have a wonderful day. Grab coffee. Grab some tea or whatever you want, and you can stay for a little bit longer. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the heat. Stay cool today. Thanks for coming.